There is a tale about a man whose orchestration was fashioned by divine life to be a deliverer. In a bid to craft him into the true fit of his destiny, he was cast out from among his people by some superior powers that many came to believe to be divine. While in exile, he learnt the ways of other cultures and traditions, gaining a higher notable knowledge over his people. One day he got summoned by the so-called powers that had cast him out from his comfort and was given a task. "Go, your people are suffering. Go deliver them from their oppressor and bring them to me." As he stood, speaking with this great being, he outlined his limitations and faults and opted to decline the offer. But the great being fashioned the task into him through the instrumentality of words. It is widely believed that the great being's words have the capacity to work their ways into manifestation. This man finally arrived in the city where he was thrown out and relayed the message to his people. A portion of them stood against him, being blinded by what had come upon them, but he eventually had his way. They all agreed to work with him towards their freedom. The journey to their freedom was not without obstacles, but they prevailed, courtesy of the great being. After a few travels from the land of their oppressor, the man left them and went into the place he had met with the great being to gather a little wisdom that will aid him guide his people right. While away, some of the men that had stood against the freedom move rose up and went into the man's brother, requesting him to come be their new leader. Not only that, they also added that he must make them a god since the man who brought them out is no more. In the process of fabrication, the man returns with 2 big tablets of stones. After finding out what the people had resulted in, he broke the stones in anger and weeping for the foolishness that had become of his brethren. It was a heartbreaking moment for the man. The question is, who is to be blamed for the people's action? The man, the rebel group, or his brother who accepted their request? Beloved, I don't think we should blame anyone. The people, after seeing the power that this man willed, thought he was a god. His brother accepted the offer to keep the nation in one piece, buying time for his brother's return. The man himself never understood what great authority he had become in the sight of these men. I think the solution would have been for him to let them know at every point that the powers he willed were from the great being and not his. He allowed them to picture him as a god. The same thing happens in our churches today. Some of our preachers don't point the people to the great being. They allow the people to focus on the miracles that the great being gives them to distribute. This is not only with preachers, the privileged rich also. They give and render a little help to man and pose thereafter as the provider, forgetting that they themselves were also given. And after a while, the people get used to the preacher and start taking him to be a god. The error can be corrected if we point the people to the great God who is and is to come, the one who is what he shall be. Take a corner and whisper some repentant words to God if you have found yourself guilty of this act. I promise you, God will hear and deliver you. Credits: Painted Pictures. Production: